reform, but it is about transformation. And so we want to let you know that as United Methodists, we have been at the forefront around this challenge of immigration. Why? Because we believe that we serve and follow a Jesus who has the immigrant experience and the refugee experience as part of who he was while walking on earth. And so, so this is an integral part of who we are as a people of faith. So it's not just about reform. Legislation is not our destination. And I say that because there are many who are documented, and yet they are still fighting for dignity and equality in these United States of America. So it is not just enough to become a citizen of the United States of America. Legislation is not our destination. It is merely an exit of the Beltway in Washington, D.C. That we must make so that we can facilitate the necessary laws to affirm dignity and equality. But I dare say to you, we must get back on this freeway because we are on a journey towards creating a society that is fair to all and a society that is just to all. So our destination is a more fair and just United States of America as well as a world. So that is very, very important as to why Holman United Methodist Church will continue to be a part of this conversation. So that we can know that as we gather for conversation, it must translate not just in reformation, but it must translate in the transformation of not just laws, but of actions, of attitudes, and of all that continues to plague these United States of America. As we move towards a more perfect union and a beloved community, conversations like this along the way are very, very important. So it is with these words that I would like to welcome you and thank you for your presence here as we become companions on this ongoing journey towards the affirmation of dignity and the realization of equality for all in the United States of America. With that said, let me share a word of blessing. Oh God, we give you thanks for bringing us all together across so many lines of color, of creed. We thank you that we can gather here from so many different faith traditions to affirm that we have a very important role to play as people of faith as we facilitate the transformation of injustice to justice, as we affirm the dignity of all human beings, as we celebrate the integrity of all creation. And so come now and bless our time together. May we receive enlightenment towards a deeper commitment to work towards and facilitate a more fair and just society. So be with us now as we move from conversation to mobilization to realization of a more just and fair United States of America and world. We give you thanks, we give you praise. Amen. Amen. Welcome.
From conversation to mobilization to realization, in Clue we sometimes add one more step, which is organization. And so we recognize that there's a part of what this is, in addition to a conversation, is getting us ready to organize in different ways and shapes and forms into a force to be reckoned with by our electeds. My name is Rabbi Jonathan Klein. I'm the Executive Director of Clergy and Laity, United for Economic Justice. And I'm so happy to see you're coming here. This effort was made with with love in our hearts, so it didn't seem nearly as hard as some of the things that we do. And yet look at the intense response that we got. With not that many emails going out about it, there was still a very strong sense of desire to be a part of this. And I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day to be here. I also want to make sure that while you're here, as part of that organizing, you also make sure that you don't leave your table without knowing every person at that table as well. It's important that we get to know each other in this struggle for justice. We're excited to present to you the inaugural Clue Los Angeles InGathering, which we hope will be a yearly gathering and briefing for all the justice-seeking religious leaders like you who care deeply about the plight of working people and their families. So many of our campaigns are hyper-local efforts focused on Long Beach, Santa Monica, South Los Angeles, Pomona, other parts of the larger Los Angeles County. But today we gather to discuss issues that confront people throughout the Los Angeles County area. In this first Clue LA gathering, we are turning our attention to an issue which faces lots and lots of people, not only in Los Angeles, but really throughout the country. Millions of people. Clue LA is a worker justice organization, and for that reason, we are deeply invested in remedying the conditions that affect that make life difficult for workers and their families. There is no greater barrier to living freely and securely and having a good quality of life right now for low-wage workers than the very broken immigration system in our country. There is nothing making home life more brutal than policies that tear families apart.
That's right.
And as people of faith, there is no more widespread desecration of our faith's belief in the humanity of all than an intentionally enforced, state-sanctioned suffering of immigrants. There are currently 11.1 million people, by some of the more accurate data, undocumented persons residing in the United States, forced into the margins and the underground economy, fearing exploitation because they have no pathway forward. Just as any of us would do facing such adversity at home, immigrants come here for reasonable reasons. To find work to support their families, to join family here, to seek security in a safe country where they don't have fears of violence or other horrible situations that we hear about all over the world. They work in important industries, agriculture, service industries, construction. They contribute to our economy, to the lives of our congregations, and to the culture of our country. Their undocumented status makes them exceptionally vulnerable to discrimination and exploitation, especially in the work environment. Since 1998, more than 7,000 people have died just trying to get here over the deserts of the Southwest. Meanwhile, President Obama, while he supports setting a pathway to citizenship, as we've learned in his recent speeches, nevertheless, his administration deported a record 1.5 million immigrants in the first term. 409,000 people were deported for the fiscal year that ended September 30th. So it's actually ramping up. The increase from the previous year occurred despite policy changes ordered by Obama to reduce the deportations. And this has led to ripping families apart, separation of citizens from parents, unequal access to opportunity, etc., etc. And we also know that there are millions of people worldwide who have applied to come here legally. But the broken system will not get them into the country, and so they are separated from their families 5, 10, or even 20 years, despite their loved ones already being here. It's a time that is ripe for change. The political situation has never been stronger. The cultural tides are shifting. And the faith community, we know, has a unique and important role to play in ensuring that justice for immigrant workers and their families is realized. So it seems befitting that at this first inaugural Clue Los Angeles InGathering, we are devoting our attention to the immigrants struggling to live happily here and beyond. Every religious tradition we know points to compassion for immigrants and to their well-being. We have so much work to do. We have gathered you here with the hope that you will join us in this struggle to raise the sparks of divinity, as the Jewish tradition might teach, found within each and every one of us, whether the state recognizes a person's status or not. This is our sacred task. So with this as an introduction, I'd like to actually now turn our attention to our first speaker. I'd like to introduce Betty Hung, Clue Los Angeles' newest, oh, she's already getting applause, she hasn't even walked up here. Clue LA's newest board member, to introduce our next guest. Betty is the policy director of APALC, Asian Pacific American Legal Center, overseeing APALC's strategic policy advocacy initiatives to promote equal justice and equal access for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. And I just want to say she's also been a great thought partner for us at Clue LA, and we're really honored to have her on our board. So I welcome Betty.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It's such an honor to be with all of you today and to join the Clue LA board. I've been such an admirer and have so much tremendous respect for the work that Clue does and the values that it brings to the social justice movement. At APALC, we work very much in solidarity and partnership with all communities, immigrants and non-immigrants. And in the context of immigration reform, very much bring those values of solidarity to this work. And we thank all of you for recognizing that immigration reform really is about respecting the inherent dignity and humanity of every single human being. For the API community, we are actually the fastest growing racial group in the country, as well as the most immigrant group of any racial community. And we're about 60% immigrants nationally. So immigration reform has tremendous consequences for the API community. Jonathan mentioned that there are approximately 11 million undocumented individuals in the United States. 1.3 million of the 11 million are Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Moreover, the broken immigration system has caused families to be separated for over as long as 2 decades, waiting for their family-based visas to be processed. Mexico has a backlog of about 20 years. The Philippines has a backlog of about 23 years. And other Asian countries also face tremendous backlogs of over 10 years, including India, China, and Vietnam. So part of what needs to happen in fixing the broken immigration system is to ensure that families are reunited, not just with the path to citizenship, but also by clearing out the backlogs. So I'm here today to introduce a leader in the API community in this movement, Anthony Nung, who is not just a policy advocate at APALC, but he's also an active member of Dream Team Los Angeles and part of the National Coordinating Committee of United We Dream, the largest national dreamer network in the country. He's been doing tremendous work organizing Asian American dreamers here in Los Angeles and nationally. So I'm pleased to introduce Anthony.
Hi everybody, my name is Anthony Nong. So I'm going to share my story just so people know who I am a little better. So again, my name is Anthony. I came here to the US when I was 12 from the Philippines. So the first time I found out we were going to go to the US was I thought we were going to go to Disneyland, because that's what my grandma told me was we're going to go to Disneyland since I always wanted to go here since I was little. But actually before that, so my parents, they moved here maybe 6-7 months before we did, given that we used to own a business in the Philippines, but it went bankrupt because the economy in the Philippines was not doing so well, and different factors just contributed to that. And my parents were only high school graduates, so they really had no other way of living. So they made the hard decision of being separated from me and my sister and my brother for a good 6 months. But during those times, my grandma saw how it really had this kind of like psychological impact on me and my sister. Like we were kind of going through a little bit of depression, not having to see our parents on a daily basis, having to just only hear them through phones was really hard because that was the first time I've ever been away from my parents for more than like 2 days. So I think for me, coming here and being reunited was one of the best things. Because I remember when they left for the airport, I was clinging onto my mom's leg. I'm telling her, don't go, don't go. And then when they were walking away, I started crying. But I didn't know why I was crying. I think it's just like emotions knowing that like I wouldn't see them for a while, or I don't know how long I would see them. Because it's normal in the Philippines for your parents to be away, to work in a different country and not even see you grow up. And I didn't want to have that experience. So coming over here, I was really happy, being reunited with my family, but I didn't know that it was a document until I was applying for a scholarship, or not a scholarship, an internship in DC, which needed a social security number. So I went up to my mom and asked her, hey mom, can I get my social? And she was just quiet and kind of ignored me. And for me, I didn't know what that really meant, that ignoring me that I didn't have a social security number. So for me, I just kind of pushed it back in my head and saying like, oh yes, I don't have it. So I just kind of moved on with my life a little bit. And when coming around my senior year of high school, when everybody was applying to schools, I was able to get into 5 of the 8 schools I applied to. And I was happy, okay, I'm gonna go to college, but it dawned upon me that like I need a social security number to apply for FAFSA. And that really like had this kind of like depression on me for a good while. Even to the point that I was so stressed out that I was getting rashes on my skin. And then once I was able to get a scholarship to go to UCRI, which I graduated in 2011, which is probably one of the proudest moments I've had. And in college, I became a student activist, but not necessarily focusing on immigration reform because that was something was too personal and I was still in the shadows. So after graduating, I kind of hit another depression. I get depressed a lot. But that really kind of like empowered me in a sense of like, why am I sulking in my own kind of like sad story when I should be out there creating the change that I want to see, right? So I applied for this internship called Dream Summer, which places undocumented youth in different organizations. It's a national internship program where there was about 150 participants last year who were placed in California, New York, and various states. And I was luckily placed at APOC, which really was a transformative experience for me, because that was my entry point to the undocumented youth movement, really organizing with Dream Team Los Angeles, organizing with the United We Dream Network. Now I'm part of the leadership and making the decisions for the organization and making sure that the API voice is heard. And that personally is my calling for me is to organize other undocumented youth that are APIs and to really make our voices lifted. And to know that immigration reform will always be an important issue to our community, that 2/3 of APIs are immigrants, that there's 1.3 undocumented immigrants out there that need to be organized, that need to come out of the shadows, that need that support system. And I think CLU, LA, and different religious institutions are those entry points for a lot of them, because it's a safe space for people to come out and really feel that they won't be judged, that they can just be who they are, and that people understand that they came here for a better life, not for themselves, but for children, for their families, and to really help our society to be a better one. So, thank you.